Thinking about making a big move and you're wondering if it's worth it to trade that California sun for the Ohio charm or vice versa? Today, we're diving into what real estate looks like in both states here in 2025, from affordability and lifestyle. And trust me, what you get for the money may surprise you. If this is your first time to the channel, please like, subscribe, tap the bell for notifications so you can be the first to know about the market here in Columbus, Ohio, and in California for today's video. My name is Billy Fristo, and I'm your local agent here in Columbus, Ohio. And this is the Living in North Columbus YouTube channel. We get calls every day from people just like you looking to make a move to the Columbus area. So if you're thinking about moving in 9 days or 9 months, please reach out, text me, call me, shoot me an email. Love to help you make that smooth transition to Columbus. And as always, just call Billy. All my information's in the description box below. Now let's see the difference between California and Ohio real estate. Today we're gonna look at, some price points. What, $500,000 will get you in California and Ohio, up to $1 million, what that gets you in California and Ohio. For starters, let's start on the low end, with the 300,000. California, you're likely gonna get, a smaller condo, maybe 800 to 1,100 square feet. And that's most likely gonna be inland, in areas like Sacramento, Fresno, or maybe even, the outskirts of LA. Because California is super expensive and prices there just keep going up for everything. So, 300,000 again is just gonna get you a smaller condo. It's not New York style, but it's close. I guess that's the trade-off, sun, small living. Just depends on what you do. In Ohio, you're looking at, for 300,000, you could get a all move-in ready single family home, 3 beds, 2 baths, 1,500 up to 2,000 square feet even, in a great neighborhood, such as Grove City, Gahanna, even Hilliard, or, even Westerville. So, in some of the suburbs around Columbus, $300,000 will get you a nice single family home, something you can move into and enjoy. I guess it's all in the eye of the beholder on what you really feel you'd like to do. But I know a lot of people that watch my channel are in California and in Florida. So that's why I thought, hey, let's do a little comparison shopping here, with California and Ohio, and see, what the differences are. So if you have anything you want to add, please drop it in the comment section below. All right, so let's get into the $500,000 range. As we continue, through these price points and whatnot between, California and Ohio, we just went through the $300,000 range to kind of see, the size of what you can get and some locations of where you can get. Let's move on to the $500,000 range. So in California, again, for 500K, you're gonna be looking at a smaller townhome, or even possibly a smaller single family home, maybe 1,200 to 1,600 square feet. But again, you're gonna be looking in California at something, inland, maybe East Bay or inland suburbs. When you start getting out, to the coast, obviously the price points jump up as, they do, on the video I just did in Florida, same thing. On the water, definitely more expensive. Inland, more affordable, just for, paying for the luxury, luxury living and, the views. So that's what 500K would get you in California. Just, it's not cut or dry, but, just basically a general description of what that'll get you. In Ohio, 500K could get you a newer construction home, or even a smaller luxury home, 2,500 plus square feet. You could even have a finished basement at that price point, a bigger yard at that price point. So that's the difference. You're gonna get more bang for your buck, here in Ohio, according to, these price points that I'm going over and the information I'm gathering. So that's the $500,000 price point. Let's move on to the $1 million price point. $1 million, what that gets you? It seems like a lot of money, but I can tell you right now in California, that $1 million doesn't get you too far, or not as far as it would here in Ohio. So in California, you could be looking at a 1,500 to 2,500 square foot in some more desirable areas like Orange County, East LA. The house, it still might need some updates. So it sounds super crazy to even think that if you paid $1 million for a house, that you would still have to do some updates or do some work to it. That, to me, sounds a little bit crazy to me, at that $1 million price point. Here in Ohio, $1 million is gonna get you a luxury estate in somewhere like Powell, even New Albany, and you're looking at, 4 to 5 beds, some high-end finishes, and you could even have acreage. So what $1 million can get you in Ohio as compared to California, it's a world of difference. So just starting off this video, just want to kind of go through those 3 price points. Now let's get on to some more info. Yeah, so like we discussed, price points, California, Ohio. So far, you get more bang for your buck in Ohio, just based on, the price point segment that we just went over. So let's go over some, market trends and, I guess affordability, kind of to expand on what we just, went over. So in California, with what we were talking about, the median home price is $859,000 to $900K, in that general ballpark. So when you're talking $300,000 to $500,000 in California, it doesn't even seem like you'd be able to get anything for that, close to that, considering the median home price is $859,000, all the way, could be upwards of $900K. So that's the reasons for that, slower market, the higher cost of living, limited affordability. Like, again, I think $1 million is a lot of money, and to barely be able to buy a house for $1 million in California just seems crazy. Well, obviously with the higher cost of homes out there, higher down payments, and the property taxes are gonna be a lot higher as well than in Ohio. Let's see what, Ohio says, but again, the median home price in Ohio is, $268K, $335K, in that general range. But in Ohio, you have steady growth. There's more first-time home buyers. The area is just first-time home buyer friendly, you know what I mean? Because they can afford, a suitable down payment, as opposed for a $280,000 house, that down payment is going to be a lot lower than what it would be for a $900,000 house in California, possibly getting the same amenities. So Ohio is attractive for that reason. Here, also, you're going to have lower taxes, lower insurance, and lower utility costs. So that's, to me, going over, the price points and affordability with median home prices in California and Ohio, I still have to give it to Ohio. But again, that doesn't mean, you have to. Some people love that lifestyle out there in California on the beach, and that's perfectly fine. I like that lifestyle too, but only a week or 2 a year when we go on vacation. Let's move on to some other pros and cons, I guess, of California and Ohio when it comes to the real estate market here in 2025. And if you're thinking about moving here to Ohio, please reach out. Call me, text me, email me. Love to help you make that smooth transition. All my information in the description box below. And let's keep it moving. Let's get into lifestyle and location, pros for California and Ohio. See, California, you pretty much, let's be honest, you're getting year-round sun. What I hear is San Diego. I've never been there, but I hear it's the best place to live if you're into 70, 75 and sunny every single day of the year. That's what you like. I like that. So it sounds appealing, but again, you're gonna pay. So, that's one of the pros, of California is the weather for sure. And the sunshine. You have beach access, you have mountains all right there, mixed together. So there's tons of activities. You can go skiing, you can go surfing, you can go, hiking, there's a lot to do. If the outdoorsy things is what you like, California, definitely the spot. Tech jobs are abundant in California, so that's another pro. You could, see long-term appreciation in many markets in California as well. As you buy low, sell high, it may take a little time, but the possibilities are there for, real estate investing. Or, owner occupied. You lived in your home for 30, 40 years, you probably have it paid off and you're probably gonna make a pretty penny when you sell it. So those are a few pros of, California, year-round sunshine, beach access, mountains right there, tech jobs, long-term appreciation. So in Ohio, some of the pros that we're gonna discuss, you get a lot more home for your dollar, period. That's not a negotiable, I guess. It's just a true story. You got great school systems here, like with regards to New Albany, Dublin, great schools, A+ rated. A lot of the suburbs around Columbus have historic downtowns that are walkable. You can go check out the little mom and pop shops, coffee shops, little, unique boutiques, restaurants. There's a lot to be said about, that hometown feeling when you're, in a smaller town and enjoying, local vendors and whatnot. So that's, another pro of living here in Ohio and possibly in the suburbs, living in North Columbus, the YouTube channel that you're watching right now. So that's another pro. Lower commuter stress. You see videos of California all the time where it's gridlock all the time, and it takes 2 hours to go 20 miles. It just, that doesn't seem that appealing to me. I like to be able to go point A to point B. And that's another pro of Ohio. There's not really a lot of, commuter stress, I guess we'll call it. Also, Ohio, you have a lower cost of living and the quality of life, is a lot better because it's not the crazy hustle and bustle of California. A lot of these suburbs, you can get that hometown, quiet, I wouldn't say stress-free life because I think we all have stresses, but just, that, quiet suburban life, where, things, aren't on your mind as much and you can afford things and, your kids are happy. And that's, one of the main things. The kids are happy. You got clean air to breathe, friendships, people are friendly. So, to me, that's a huge pro of living here in Ohio, specifically in, Columbus, and the Columbus area. So let's keep it rolling and see what else we have in California and Ohio here for 2025. So who really wins in this real estate showdown between California and Ohio? I guess it all depends, if you're moving, with your family or you're a remote worker, Ohio may be the big winner, with the lower cost of living, especially saving money, not having to commute, both ways back and forth to work. So to me, that's a win for Ohio. If you want the beach life, and you're looking for adventure, when it comes to the beach life, the mountains being close, tech jobs and income, from those tech jobs, California might be the winner when it comes to that. Investors looking for appreciation, it depends. Do you want a long-term big win in California, or would you like, a few smaller wins here in Ohio? It just depends. You can put your money into investment properties in California and it may be a bit, it might be a bit riskier than putting your investor money here in Ohio. So, That one is kind of a tie because you want some people that, like the risk, the big risk with the big reward, big gain, or maybe, coming here to Ohio with a few smaller gains is, what you want. So if you want space, affordability, values that, are gradually going up here in Ohio, unlike some other markets where some, places are going down, Ohio's going to win that battle, when it comes to space, affordability, whether it's a house or just life in general, goods in general. Ohio's going to win that battle right there. So, again, it's all in what you want, but I've got Ohio winning 75% of the time when it comes to, the real estate game here in 2025 and what you can get for your buck and all that kind of stuff. So if you are thinking about making that move, especially to Ohio, I'd love to help you navigate that process. I specialize in relocation. I'm a residential relocation specialist. And, I feel like I have a good handle on some of the hidden gems around Columbus. And if you like this breakdown, hit that button, subscribe, tap the bell for notifications so you can be the first to know about the market here in Columbus and, help you choose, especially if it's between California and Ohio. So with that being said, if you're making that move, let me help you make that smooth transition. If you're buying or selling in Columbus, please just call Billy. Hope to see you around town.